Some changes, adventurer, arrive like a whisper. Others, like a storm that will not be turned away. Out beyond the safe glow of this tavern fire, there are places where the world has been burned, and then learned how to breathe again. Where endings are not just lines drawn in ash, but doorways. Tonight we walk among those ashes. We speak of the card most feared, most misunderstood, and perhaps one of the most honest in the deck. Tonight, we meet Death. It was in the shadow of the Blackroot Forest where I saw it first. Once, they said, this forest had been thick with emerald leaves and silver songbirds. But when I came upon it, the trees stood like charred bones, their branches curled and blackened against the bruised sky. The air still carried the faint scent of smoke, long after the flames had gone. Beside the forest lay a village, Ashenford, or what had been a village. Half of the homes were nothing but stone foundations and collapsed beams. The well had caved in. Signs swung from a single nail, creaking in the wind, their painted letters scorched and peeling. At first glance, it looked like a place that was abandoned by life. But then I heard it. A hammer striking wood. A child laughing. The murmur of a song. I followed the sound to the heart of the village, where a handful of people were working amidst the ruin. A woman with soot on her cheeks lifted stones into a new wall. A boy traced lines in the dirt, planning where his family's house would stand again. A wizened elder sat upon a broken step, weaving new thatch with hands that trembled but did not stop. Near the edge of the ruined square stood a man with the cloak the same color of storm clouds. I learned his name was Lorik. He was once the village warden. He watched the work in silence, his jaw clenched, his hands buried in his sleeves. I approached him. "You're rebuilding. That's no small feat." He looked at me. "We are. Well, they are." "And you?" I asked. He hesitated. "I was supposed to protect this place. When the fire came, I led them into the forest. Some of them made it through. Others others didn't. A silence hung between us, broken only by the steady rhythm of a hammer and a saw. I sat beside him on a half-collapsed stone wall. "What started the fire?" I asked gently. "A lightning strike. A freak storm. No bandits, no sabotage, no curse, just the sky deciding to change everything." His eyes were fixed on the burned tree line. "I know in my head that I couldn't have stopped it, but my heart still says that it's my fault." We watched as a little girl planted a sapling where a great tree had once stood. She patted the soil carefully, as if tucking the earth into bed. "Do you see that?" I asked. He nodded. "They're stubborn, hopeful, foolish maybe. Or," I pushed, "they're wise. That tree will never be the one that burned, but it will be something. A new shade, a new story." Finally, he turned to me. "Tell me, Bard, what do you sing of when there's nothing left to save?" I met his gaze. "I sing of what comes after." "After what?" "After the part you thought was the end." We walked the edge of the forest together. Up close, the burned trunks looked almost silver in the fading light. And there between the charred roots, something small and stubborn had begun to grow. Tiny green shoots pushing through the ash. Lorik knelt, and he brushed his fingers over them as if afraid that they would vanish. We thought the forest was dead." "Death came," I said. "But that doesn't mean it stayed." Do you think that this village can ever be what it was?" "No," I said honestly. "But it can become what it's meant to be now." That night, they lit a fire in the center of the village. Not a wild blaze, but a controlled, steady flame. The people gathered around it, the grieving, the weary, the determined. And Lorik stood, shoulders squared. His voice was rough, but firm. "I could not stop the fire that took our homes, but I can stand with you as we build what comes next. I cannot bring back what was lost, but I can honor it by helping us to live." The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't need to. Instead, they nodded. One by one, each person a small flame, choosing not to go out. As the night deepened, I looked towards the blackroot forest, and in the distance, I could almost see it, the shape of what it had been and the ghost of what it would become. Not the same, never the same, but it was alive. Death had walked through that place, but somehow, so did life. Death upright is the card of endings, yes. But more truthfully, it's a card of transformation. It doesn't speak of a literal death in most readings. Rather, it marks the moment something has reached its natural conclusion, and clinging to it only prolongs the pain. This is the closing of a chapter, the final turning of a key, the point at which what was must give way so that what can be has room to exist. Death is the wildfire that clears the old underbrush, making way for new growth. It is the last breath of a story that has been stretched too thin, the one that gives rise to something truer. Upright, this card asks for acceptance and courage. It calls you to let go of what is finished, old habits, old identities, old roles, old relationships, old beliefs, or old obligations that no longer match what you are becoming. It is not gentle, but it is honest. Death reminds us that we are not meant to stay the same. We shed skins, we outgrow our armor, and we step out of doors that once kept us safe, but now keep us small. Where some see only loss, death invites us to see space, a clearing in which to paint new dreams. It says this chapter has served its purpose. Honor it, grieve it if you must, and then turn the page. When death appears in a reading, it often heralds a profound transition. It could signal the end of a relationship that's run its course, the closing of a job, a role, or a phase of life that no longer fits, the release of an identity that you have worn for years but can no longer truthfully inhabit, the shedding of patterns, fears, or stories that kept you bound to the old version of yourself. On the surface, it can feel frightening. Humans are skilled at holding on, even to what hurts, because the familiar feels safer than the unknown. But death is rarely about destruction for its own sake. It's about alignment. Death can indicate a relationship transforming, ending, evolving, or being reborn in a more honest form. It can point to a major pivot, a career change, the end of burnout, or the decision to pursue a path that truly reflects your spirit. Sometimes this card appears when change is already in motion. You may feel it in your bones even if nothing has officially ended yet. Other times, it shows up as a clear, uncompromising message that it's time to stop carrying what has already fallen away. Death may ask of you, what are you afraid to release? Who might you become if you allow this ending to fully unfold? And what new life could grow in the space that follows? Death is the moment the story refuses to go backward. Forward may be uncertain, but backward is no longer possible. I think of Ashenford and the Blackroot Forest often. The village rebuilt from ruin. The trees that learned how to grow again through the ash. And I think of Lorik, standing between what he could not stop and what he chose to build anyway. For a long time, I myself was afraid of death, both the card and the concept. To me, it meant loss, full stop. Something stolen that could never be returned. But sitting by that village fire, listening to people speak of those that they'd lost and the homes they'd rebuild, something shifted in me. I realized that death is not the thief. It's the truth teller. It shows us what's already gone and what we've been pretending we can still hold on to. I have worn cloaks that no longer fit, roles, expectations, versions of myself that kept me safe, but they stifled me later in life. I stayed in places long after the song had ended because I was terrified of the silence that would follow. And yet, every time I let one of those old selves fall away, something new emerged. A clearer voice, a truer story, a life that was built on what I thought I should be, but on who I actually was. Death is not asking you to be unafraid. Fear is natural. Grief is sacred. It is simply asking you to be honest. What in your life is already over, even if you haven't named it yet? What are you carrying like a burned tree, hollow, heavy, unable to bear fruit, simply because you remember what it once was? And what might happen if you planted a seed in that same soil instead? Standing in Ashenford, I watched children play between the ruins, their laughter echoing where sorrow had once sat heavy. The stones of old homes became foundations for the new ones. The memory of what had been didn't disappear. It became part of what was being built. That is the quiet promise of death. Not that you will forget what came before, but that you will not be trapped by it. So if this card finds you, know this: you are not being punished. You are being invited. Invited to lay down what is finished. Invited to step, however trembling, into the next version of your own story. Yes, endings hurt, but they are also the only reason beginnings exist. So, adventurer, Look gently at your own life for a moment. What chapters feel heavy in your hands because you're too afraid to close the book? What doors standing half shut because you've convinced yourself you can stand in the doorway forever? Death reminds us that we can't. Eventually, we must choose to step through or walk away. But next time, we'll explore what happens when that choice is delayed or even denied. When endings are resisted and transformation stalls in those very doorways. We'll look at the shadow of this card, where fear clings and the past grips tight. Join me next time for Death Reversed. Until we meet again, adventurer, the Tarot Tavern is always waiting, where stories are etched in the cards and wisdom flows like mead from the tap. The journey doesn't end here. It's only just begun. Come back soon. Your next chapter awaits. Before we part ways for now, I just want to say thank you again for spending some time with me here at the Tarot Tavern. Every tale told and every card turned is powered by passion and a fair bit of coffee. If you'd like to help keep the lights on here at the tavern, I've set up a coffee page at ko-fi.com/The Tarot Tavern. That's TheTarotTavern. There, you can toss a one-time tip to the bard, or if you're feeling especially generous, you can become a frequent adventurer. Frequent adventurers are monthly supporters who help cover the behind-the-scenes cost of this podcast. Hosting fees, production tools, ink for the quill, wax for the candles, you get the idea. As a thank you, every frequent adventurer will receive a personal shout-out right here on the podcast and a special Tarot Tavern sticker mailed directly to you as a token of my thanks. It's my way of raising a glass in your honor and letting you know just how much your support means to me. Now you'll find the link down in the show notes, and whether you do choose to support with a donation or simply by listening and sharing this podcast, you are helping keep this story alive and the mead flowing. And honestly, adventurer, I couldn't be more grateful.